on, Jamie, let's pop off right now. We got to get started.
We got to go.
Let's go. Let's go. Let's get the people in the chat. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Morning After Recap show from IrishSportsDaily.com. I'm your host, Greg Flammang. As always, the morning after Notre Dame beats Stanford 56-23 to end the regular season. Notre Dame finishes 9-3 this year in a season that I think a lot of people will find unsatisfying. That's kind of how I see it, in terms of what could have been, but still a good year. It's they're going to go to a nice bowl game. I think they're set up to go to a New Year's Day bowl game, which is always very nice. With a game against possibly against their former coach Brian Kelly, which will be very, very interesting indeed. Should be a lot of eyes on a game like that. So we're going to talk about the Stanford game last night. We're going to talk about how everyone feels about the season and how everyone feels about how things went. We'll go over some stats and whatever people want to talk about in chat. There's a nice showing so far. Rajon, first of all, happy birthday to Rajon. Came up on the show last night. It's Rajon's birthday, so everyone in the chat wish Rajon a happy birthday. For right now, Joe Bro is here. Robert Halicki is here. Oh man, Robert, having a tough time. Both your parents in and out of the hospital, but I'm glad to be back for a live show. Let's go. Hope everyone's feeling okay. Hope everyone's doing all right. Robert, with you. Thank you for being on the show. If this is your first time catching my live show or any of our Irish Sports Daily shows, Hit and Hustle shows, please subscribe to the show. Please like the show. Please hit the notification bell so you know whenever it is we are going live. Links to the podcast are in the description below. If you want to catch the podcast in the audio format, you want to listen back. Maybe you want to listen back on some things that you didn't catch the first time around. And we've got it's Robert's birthday. Something that someone could get for him is a bamboo dress shirt from ESQ Clothing. Maybe one of his family members is looking for a late gift. Oh, we forgot about Rajon's birthday. Well, then you can take advantage of a special promotion from ESQ Clothing. For this holiday season, there's no better gift for your husband, father, brother, son, nephew, you name it, or someone's birthday. ESQ's bamboo dress shirt, which you've seen on Notre Dame's favorite players and coaches. It's the world's most comfortable dress shirt made of sustainable bamboo fibers. The bamboo shirt is naturally odor resistant, wrinkle resistant, and even machine washable. Also 3 degrees cooler than cotton, so you can sweat it out watching the games for the remainder of the season. Get ahead of the holiday season and use ISD25 to get 25% off your online purchase at esqclothing.com. Or visit Ga at his Chicago showroom to get your perfect custom fit. That's ISD25 for 25% off. Someone, Rajon, let someone know someone can get you the bamboo dress shirt from ESQ Clothing for 25% off. The A Stack says someone mentioned last night on the broadcast Arizona versus Notre Dame in a bowl game. Man, that would be tough for me because I am a big Jed Fish guy. That Arizona offense is something else, man. I think they put up 59 on Arizona State yesterday. That would be an interesting football game because, they have a good offense. This Notre Dame defense is a good is a good little unit, and just thinking about it, like I can't, like there are a few guys on offense that you could see skipping the bowl game, but I can't see really anybody on the defense skipping the bowl game. Actually, I could see Cam Hart skipping the game just because of the shoulder. Like he is, I think if he wants any chance at an NFL career, that shoulder needs to be good. He got through the season healthy there, and he's gonna want to make sure that he can get through the process. If he was to hurt his shoulder again, that would be very difficult C. Dot says, any chance of the Holiday Bowl? I haven't seen that. That would be great for me personally, because then I could actually get to the game, and I could actually try to cover that game. So that would be good, but I don't know. Let's see. Homecoming for Ben. Well, game might not be in Arizona, so I'm not sure. So I don't know what that means there, but it's yeah, a Holiday Bowl would be great. I think it would be very difficult. Everyone has Notre Dame in the ReliaQuest Bowl, which is I think it's a New Year's Day game, and that's against an SEC school. So I've seen LSU, I've seen Tennessee. So that remains to be seen. That remains to be seen there. But how's everyone feeling? Let me know in the chat about the 9-3 season. Jamie and I mentioned on the show last night that 9-3 feels like it really needed to be 10-2. The Ohio State game needed to be a win. It had to be a win. I think Notre Dame outplayed Ohio State that day, and they had multiple chances to end the game, and they weren't able to do it. Would have been a huge win for Marcus Freeman on the season. And, if you go back and let's say Notre Dame actually wins that game, does the Duke game go different? Does the Louisville game go different? But just looking at each individual game in a vacuum, I think they deserve to lose to Louisville. I think they deserve to lose to Clemson. They did not deserve to lose to Ohio State. And so I think just looking back on the season, that's going to be the biggest thing this year, is that missed opportunity against Ohio State. It's that's going to be the one that stings, right? Especially for Marcus Freeman as well. And it could have been a huge moment. It could have been a huge moment for the team. Could have been a huge moment for the program, and all the momentum going forward. So it's tough. You didn't want to have that happen, but it is what it is. Dana Curry says, any truth to the rumor Gino is more involved in play calling and game plan since Clemson game? I would say, first of all, we had heard he was more. I guess there were more. I don't want to say Gino specifically. I think more people were involved, even post like pre USC or post USC. So I think it happened a lot before that, but not the calling piece. It was always Jared Parker. It was never not. It was never not Jared Parker. He was always calling the plays. I think there might have been more voices involved in the game plan itself. To be honest, like looking back on the season and the way the offense evolved and how things just kind of built on itself, I think just for me now, okay, like I don't want to, this is just my opinion. I think the way when Notre Dame lost Jaden Thomas and Jaden Greathouse post Ohio State, I think that really hurt them in terms of how we are going to put together an offensive game plan and what they are able to do. Because we saw them like that. The Clemson game was not a good game in terms of like the way that the offense played. But Jamie and I talked about it a bunch. I thought what they tried to do was some of the man coverage stuff and some of the stuff that they didn't run the play action passing. And that's been a problem for us all year. But some of the man beaters that they called in the Clemson game, I thought were smart. And Notre Dame had an opportunity to play better at the quarterback position in that game. It didn't happen, but they were a lot more cohesive in what they were trying to do, kind of post USC. And like, look, is there a little bit of more people getting involved with the game plan? Maybe, but also I think they got Faison up to speed. They got Jaden Greathouse back. They were able to kind of figure out, okay, this is what we can do with the weapons that we have. Losing Jaden Thomas is huge. Like it was huge for the offense. He was supposed to be like their number one receiver this year. It's basically a lost season for him. It's really just like a bummer that it happened that way with his hamstring, and that really just kind of thwarted him and his growth and development. And I think the growth and the development of the offense as well. And And so I just think their adjustment to that, then losing Mitchell Evans too, like they had to go back and they had to deal with losing Mitchell Evans, who's their number one receiver, going against Clemson. You got to go to Clemson, and you don't have Mitchell Evans, right? Like I think that that adjustment was very difficult for them. They're all young players. We've talked about it a ton this year. Just the fact that there were no real upperclassmen at wide receiver for Notre Dame this year, with the exception of Chris Tyree, who hadn't been playing, right? Who hadn't been playing wide receiver for Notre Dame. So I think maybe some of it, maybe a good portion of it had to do with more people being involved with the game plan. But I think the fact that they needed to figure out what they could do with those wide receivers and get them up to speed. I mean, remember, they're just freshmen, right? Jordan Faison's a freshman. Jaden Greathouse, freshman. Rico Flores, freshman. Tobias Merriweather, true sophomore, right? Didn't play a ton last year. So this is his first year as like a true starter. And so I think that, they needed to adjust to that, and it took them a little bit, and not only that, but they had to deal with it during one of the toughest stretches of the season. Ohio State on the road to Duke, on the road to Louisville. Like I think that really hurt them there. I think Mitchell Evans really hurt them against Clemson as well. But I mean, they still needed a better performance out of the offense against Clemson, especially at the quarterback position. The A-Stack says, do I dare ask to compare Hartman's stats versus Pine's stats from last year? It's a little bit difficult just because of the game, the number of games. The stats that I usually am looking at for the like the PFF like stats, like not the like there are some things for the PFF is really good for like targets, like how many targets against, average depth of target, stuff like that, like pressures. PFF's usually really good for that, but the actual like raw stats, they sometimes don't match up, which is very frustrating. Let me just see. I mean, I could just look through 11 games. Sam Hartman, 25, 49, 22 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. He ended up with 24 touchdowns, interceptions. But Drew Pine only had 10 starts last year, played in 11 games. Drew Pine's passer rating was 155.27. Sam Hartman's was 158.79. Hartman averaged 8.8 yards per attempt. Drew Pine with 8 yards per attempt, 22 touchdowns for Pine, 6 interceptions. So those numbers are very similar. I mean, the yards per attempt are obviously a lot better for Hartman. I think Hartman would have appreciated having Michael Mayer on his team. That would have worked out very well for him. But yeah, I mean, I think let's see. Rajon says we overrated Hartman's ability. Of course, if he were better, he'd be in the NFL. I think when I look back on Sam Hartman and just I think that he never truly got comfortable in the offense truly till I guess later in the year. But even then, like I don't know. Like Jamie and I were talking last night, and when I was at the Wake Forest game, he just seems confused about where he needs to be looking all the time. Like he'll have some drives where it's like, do you know where you're supposed to be going with the ball? Like he seems very just like, I'm not sure where he should be looking, in the different route concepts. And then other times he looks great, 26 big time throws this year, which is the most since 2014. Jack Cohn was close at 24. Again, Jack Cohn had 13 games to do that. Sam Hartman's only played 12. He also had Kevin Austin. He also had Michael Mayer. He also had, Braden Lindsey and guys of that caliber. So, Lorenzo Styles, when he was good, Lorenzo Styles was a good football player in 2021. So I think he had a lot better weapons. I think it would have been a lot different for Sam Hartman this year if he had someone the caliber of Kevin Austin. But yeah, I don't know that Sam Hartman was ever comfortable running this offense. Rajon's mentioning his footwork. Like, I agree with that. Like, his footwork is just, he doesn't have his body pointed in the right direction, right? Like, when you're making throws like the interception he threw last night, like, you're just not comfortable with what you're looking at, and that's difficult for any quarterback. And I don't know that he ever got comfortable in the offense. It's a bummer because I do feel like, of all the teams that I think if you just ran it back, like if Notre Dame was able to run it back with this team, if Sam Hartman had one more year of eligibility, I think they'd be a real threat because he'd be more comfortable. I think those wide receivers would have another season, and they would start to get a lot better and more comfortable in the offense. You get the tight ends going. Audric Estime has another year of eligibility, right? Like, obviously, there's going to be so many players that could leave. I just think if this team specifically just ran it back, I think they'd be a real force because I think Sam just needed more time to get comfortable in the offense. And the other problem is that kind of plays into Jared Parker's inexperience. There's a difference between like being able to call plays and design plays and to be able to teach the concepts to your players. And I think that's where the inexperience comes in for someone like Parker, where sure, the concepts are good and maybe the play calling is okay, but if you're not able to import that teaching onto the players, then they never grasp it, and then the end product doesn't look as good as it could, And I think that there was a lot of that. I think there was so much learning on the fly with this team that it was difficult for them to import the concepts onto the players at times, and that's why we saw such inconsistent play, right? Like, that's why we call it inconsistent. We've seen so much where you see good play and then you see bad play, right? And so, like, that is the risk you ran having someone like Jared Parker, right? It's one thing to say, again, like I just said, I have good ideas. I can call plays, but you have to be able to teach it. And that's the coaching aspect. That's the difference between good coaches and mediocre coaches. Like, everyone has good ideas. If Jared Parker was sitting here with me and we were having a chat about why they ran this concept or why they ran that concept, he would have great ideas for me and he would explain everything. It was like, yeah, that makes sense. But you do have to teach it, and you do have to be able to do those things. And I think Notre Dame struggled with that offensively. And look, I think there's an aspect to the defense as well. Like, they struggled with a lot of the concepts last year. And they were open about that at the end of the season, or at the end of or in the off season, open about the fact that, like, hey, like, the players couldn't get it. We had to scale back. They weren't really getting it. And then you look at this year, they have another season, and and it works out, right? And the defense is one of the better defenses Notre Dame's ever had. So, especially in the passing game. So, it's not to say that I'm advocating for, Parker to be given another chance because of that. The other difference is Al Golden has a lot more experience than Parker. You can have a lot more confidence that he's going to be able to figure it out. And so, Marcus Freeman, look, he has a decision to make, and he has to determine, is it better for me to go with Parker and to trust in that they can build off of this year and be able to, again, import the concepts onto the players, get them to execute at a high level, or does he has to look outside? He has to know who he's bringing in, and he has to have confidence in that person. So we'll see what he does with that. Rajon says, did he improve his NFL chances? I doubt it. I think he did, just because he played in the offense. I think teams needed to see what he can do and what he can't do. So that, in my opinion, that improves his chances, because there might be a team that's like, you know what, I like this part of it. Let's do that, right? Whereas I think as a in the slow mesh, I think he had no chance, and so now I think he has some chance. But it wasn't like a home run. That's for sure. It wasn't a home run. Isaac Cudlow. I'm going to say Isaac K. I don't want to butcher it. Any word on who ND will add to the schedule next year for the 12th game? All the rumors that I've ever heard, and this is like very unofficial, is Army in New York City, which is extremely underwhelming. But yeah, Michael Sinat. I don't know that it's made up. I just think that's what people are hearing, right? And it makes the most sense. But I would hope for a better matchup there. But it is what it is. I don't know. Two service academies. I don't like that. I don't like that. Rajan says sometimes you work on things in practice and think the players get it, and you find out the hard way in games they didn't. Yeah, I mean, it's just like that's the way it is, and you gotta try out things, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Um, and Notre Dame, they sometimes you have to try it out against a really good team, and they had to try things out against Duke, who had a really good defense. And then you had to try things out against Louisville, who had a really good defense, and it's on the road. So that's the situation there. Oregon State is probably looking for a game. Yeah, maybe that might be an option for Notre Dame. Let's see. Robert Halicki on the 9-3 season. Over under was 8.5. I believe it was in Vegas. I'm glad for the wins and players that had great seasons, but 8 to 10 wins is underwhelming. To truly celebrate, we need to have a New Year's 6 win, college football playoff win, or a national championship win. I think the bad part of this year is it was all over with Louisville. Like you were never going to be in the they were never going to be in the New Year's Six discussion, really. They were never going to be in the college football playoff discussion. I mean, that was a good thing about BK's years is like they always found a way to be, in the discussion when the first couple weeks came out. And I think too, like BK got very lucky and fortunate during his good seasons with just not having to play like really, teams like when was it ever like, oh, you know what? Like Duke is really good and then Louisville's really good, and you have to play like actual tough games in the middle stretch. Like they had we were talking about this yesterday. They had so many games where it was like in the 2021 season, like they had to play that game on the road with Kyle Hamilton out against Virginia. And then Brennan Armstrong got hurt, and so he couldn't play. And so it's like that offense had been killing teams all year, and they didn't have Kyle Hamilton. But then Brennan Armstrong gets hurt, and they play a guy who literally like never did anything in college football ever. And so you get a win there, and then the season rolls on, right? And I think he got very fortunate with some of his schedules that he had to navigate, and Marcus Freeman didn't get that benefit, right? Like no, they didn't play a bad team who like Clemson, who's now 8-4, and they didn't get to play a bad team like that, and or like what people think is a bad team, and they're actually like a pretty good team. So it's just a lot of things kind of broke poorly for Marcus Freeman this year, but at the same time, you also have the option to win the games, and they didn't do that. And so it's just like it is what it is. 9-3. I feel like Notre Dame was better. I feel like this defense deserved a lot more than 9-3. They were a better defense than that. They were 11-1 defense, frankly, and that's what they deserved, and they didn't get that. And so it's just it's unfortunate for them, but you just have to deal with that. It just is what it is. Fred Laskowski says underwhelming, underperforming. It's hard. Like it just there was so much banked on Sam Hartman this year, and it just feels like you say missed opportunity, but I don't think he really ever played to the point. Like, look, okay, here's a missed opportunity. Look at LSU. They're 9-3, and they had a generational quarterback. I mean, Jaden Daniels might win the Heisman Trophy. That is wasting something. That is wasting a quarterback. Like, his numbers are insane, and what he was able to do with that offense, and you have the same record as Notre Dame does. That is wasting someone, truly wasting someone. Like Lincoln Riley, completely 7-5 with Caleb Williams as your quarterback. Like, that is truly wasting a really good situation offensively. So we say wasted Sam Hartman, but I mean, look around the nation, man. There are a lot of teams that really just blew it with some really good players. So especially a quarterback. I mean, look at Drake May, right? Where did North Carolina finish 8-4? Is that what they finished? I can't remember. It's like Drake May. We talk all the time about, like, all you need is the quarterback. Caleb Williams 7-5. Drake May 8-4. Jaden Daniels 9-3. Right? Like, you do need other things than just a great quarterback. And so it's just, we fret on Marcus Freeman, but a lot of coaches really fumbled the bag this year with better players at the quarterback position. Michael Sinnott says, Jaden Thomas, Chris Tyree, Tobias Merriweather, Jordan Faison, Jaden Greathouse, Rico Flores, Braylon James, Cam Williams, and the other freshmen looks pretty good for 24 on paper anyway. It does look good on paper. It does. Like, I really feel like it's something to build on for that group of players. And I still think they need to get into the portal to get that number one receiver. And if they can do that, it looks really good. It looks really good on paper specifically. So we'll see. But I like that group. I like that group a lot. You get Jaden Thomas healthy. I think Tobias, the last few games have been good for him, and just in terms of his development, right? Like, I think disappointing season for sure is true sophomore season. I think people had a lot higher expectations. I'm sure he probably had higher expectations. And it didn't work out, but at the same time, like, just a true sophomore, right? Like, he still has 2 more years of eligibility to go. And I think, you look at the ability, like, you look at the physical, just skills and the traits that he has, like, there is really something there, and they have to be able to tap into that and make him a viable receiver for Notre Dame, because that is a skill set that you don't see very often, to be able to move like that and get behind defenders that way. He finishes the regular season with 14 catches for 284 yards, 20.3 yards of reception, and 2 touchdowns. He got up over 50% receiving percentage, 54%. Jordan Faison at 74%, 14 catches for 208, 3 touchdowns. Tyree, 70% receiving percentage, 26 catches, 484 yards, 18.6 yards per catch, 3 touchdowns. Let's check out, where is he at? Rico Flores, 55% receptions for Flores, 27 catches, 392 yards, and the 1 touchdown. So a lot to build on. A lot of underclassmen there. A lot of underclassmen. Annie Davis, the catch Tobias made yesterday is better than anything he's done over the last 2 years, and is a great sign. I think in terms of difficulty, right? Like, he's had his first of all, 3rd and long, reaches out and makes the catch over the middle, and then gets the first down, extended the drive. Notre Dame's ended up scoring a touchdown and going up 28-16. That was a very important catch in the moment. And it was a big drive for Notre Dame, just in terms of putting the game away. I don't think it's better per se, because, like, the deep ball stuff that he's able to hit on, like, no one else on the team is really able to hit on that stuff. I mean, with the exception of Jordan Faison yesterday, that was a smoke show. I mean, Jordan Faison's done some really good things in one-on-one matchups this year. And I've said on a couple shows too, like, we need to stop thinking about Jordan Faison as like a lacrosse guy. He is, like, I don't care. Like if he came in and you knew like he's a top 200 receiver, would anyone think different? Like you wouldn't. He looks like he's viable. He's a viable player. He has a chance to be a very, very good football player for Notre Dame. So that's great to see. And there's a lot there. Like I hope Chris Tyree comes back because he showed yesterday like he can make plays. He's a good playmaker. Another year as a wide receiver would be great for him. But if he was to leave for whatever reason, you have something there in Jordan Faison. Like he can do that stuff. I think Jordan Faison should be the punt returner. Like he's that kind of an athlete. He looked very comfortable catching punts. I think he should be doing that. So I think that's a big deal. Fred Laskowski says Coach Marcus Freeman needs to do some self-analysis. Go sit with Lou for 2 days. Yeah, I don't know about sitting with Lou. I don't know what Lou can give to him. I do think he needs to think about why they were such a poor road team this year. Clearly different, right? I think he needs to also like, what are you doing with this offense? Where are you going with this? Do you trust Jared Parker to be the guy to take you to the next level? And who can you bring in if the answer is no? And that's what he needs to think about. That's the biggest thing for him. What are you going to do on offense? Can you get there with Parker? And if you can't, then who can you get? Who do you trust to take you to that point? Annie Davis says, my point being Tobias has been relegated to one trick post route, and he showed potential for more with the excellent grab. That's a good point. It's a fair point. Annie Davis. I like that. I think that's good. He made another key third down catch. What game was it? He made another key third down catch. Maybe it was against NC State, or maybe it was Clemson that was called back for the offensive PI on a Great House. So he's done it a couple times, but it's a good point that like there are little things to being a wide receiver other than being just a post route guy. And so that's a good one. He had another first down catch against Wake Forest as well. So look, it was good to see growth, right? And I think he stuck with it. And I think that after the Duke game and the Louisville game, I think that fans were kind of done with him. And I think that he stuck it out. Marcus Freeman talked about how, he walks through he's walking through the Goog and he sees Tobias sitting there by himself, like looking at film. Like, I think that it's a good sign, right? Like, it's a great sign of someone who it's like, you know what? The fans are down. Maybe the coaches are down. I don't know. But he stuck with it and he improved as a player. He made himself a better player and he helped the team win the game yesterday. He really did. It's only the one opportunity, but he made the most of it. And so it's good. It's good to see. And that's a really good point by Annie Davis about Tobias Merriweather. Let's see. There was a question about Al Golden from Travis 88 Cards. Do you think Al Golden looks at head coaching opportunities after this stellar season? I'd actually be worried. He has been great this year. I think that Rajon makes a point about might prefer an NFL job. I think that's correct. He probably would prefer an NFL job. The thing about Al Golden is he had been kind of rumored about Syracuse. But we've heard other names associated with that job lately. I think the thing is, I think that he didn't like the college game last year, like coming back to the college game. I think he loved the players, right? And everything I've heard is the players love Al Golden. And Al Golden loves the players, and Al Golden did not like the college, like the recruiting aspect of it, that whole scene, right? Like I have heard from opposing coaches, right? Like college coaches, like had a personal conversation. So this is firsthand. It's not it's not secondhand information. It's a firsthand conversation I had with a college coach at a major program, and not Notre Dame. And he was saying, like, the college game right now is very difficult for coaches in terms of families, in terms of the recruiting calendar, the way it works, the portal calendar, the way it works. They are always working. They are never off. They never have time off. And I think for someone like Al Golden, who had been in the NFL for so long and hadn't dealt with the portal, hadn't dealt with the change in the recruiting calendar with early signing day, you come back and it's like kind of a shock about how much time it takes. And so he didn't like that. So I think last year it was a lot more like, hey, I need to get back into the NFL. And I think this year he kind of understood it more. It became easier for him to it's like, okay, I can pace myself. I know how to deal with it a lot better. And, did that have to do with the defense? Does that have to do with the defense playing better? Maybe, but at the same time, like, maybe there's a correlation there where he became more comfortable with it. And therefore, the team became more comfortable with it. He was able to put in, better schemes for the players, understand the schemes better, teach the players the schemes better, and they had a much better season. So, he hasn't been strongly linked to a job at this point, but I would be worried about the NFL coaching carousel. If someone offers him a DC job in the NFL, I imagine it would be very hard for him to turn that down. So, but it's a good conversation to have because it's interesting. Dana Curry says, do Hartman and Daniels play in the bowl? Nightmare scenario of Angeli versus Daniels. Kelly under tremendous pressure to win this game to validate move. So this is all just anecdotal and everyone's kind of aware of it. But every time Sam Hartman has made reference a couple of times, and he did this post Wake Forest as well. He made reference to 2 more games. And this was not asked by the media. He just, when talking about it, he would just say, we have 2 games left and we'll finish it out strong. He answered another question kind of the same way, like 2 games left, finishing out strong. Marcus Freeman, when referencing Sam Hartman, said, he's got 2 games left. So he keeps saying 2 games, and he hasn't been that way with like Audrey Estime, for example, right? Like the way everyone's talking about him is that he's done. I don't know that that's true, but they're talking about Hartman and Estime in a much different way. And so that's just something that I've noticed. So I think there's a pretty good chance Hartman plays in the bowl game. I mean, look at it. He has, if they play on New Year's Day, Sam Hartman's never played on New Year's Day. That's a big deal, for him. Like that's a big kind of accomplishment for him. And it's something fun to do. Like if you're a college football fan, playing on New Year's Day is something special. At least it used to be, but I think if you haven't done so, you want to do that. As far as, Kelly under tremendous pressure to win this game, Brian Kelly is under more pressure to win than I think Marcus Freeman is, because look, they're both 9-3. It's not like one guy is ascending to great heights and the other one isn't. They're both in the same spot. I think it would be worse for Kelly to lose to Marcus Freeman, for sure. Just because also I think people regard LSU as a better team this year. So that would be an interesting game. Any Davis question, thoughts on linebacker looking ahead to 24 or too early? He says he has concerns. It's interesting. It depends on who comes back. Like if I can't imagine Bertrand is back. I think he's ready to move on to whatever that might be, whether it's an NFL shot or whether it's just moving on in life. He seems like he has a lot of good prospects going forward and to be a very successful human being. So that's nice for him. So I think Bertrand is gone. Kaiser and Maris, they're interesting. I mean, I can make the case for Maris to come back, right? Like, first of all, there's probably an NIL component to that. It become a a better overall football player, period. He's played a ton of football for Notre Dame, but just, he could be a captain next year, just being, better overall. I think Jack Kaiser, like, could he play the Mike position? Could that be his position if he gets big enough? I don't know. It is, I will say, like, I thought we would have seen more from Drake Bowen. I thought we would have seen more from Jaden Osbury. And so there's a concern there. I think the idea was, Nolan Ziegler would be a bigger factor this year. Obviously he posted posted on Twitter about, having a battle with depression after he had, I think it was hip surgery. He had a very serious battle with depression, and it was a tough time. And so just the fact that he's back on the team and with the university and doing well, that's most important for him. But and it's great to have him around, and it seems like he's on the mend there and getting help, right? So that's great for him, and that's, again, most important. But just talking about the depth chart, like, I think there is a little bit there where it's like, what's this going to look like next year? Because it's nice to have those seniors, right? It's nice to have those guys that can play and perform. But at the same time, like, look, JD Bertrand, he stepped up when no one really thought that he would be available, right? Maris got hurt and they thought he was going to be a starter. JD Bertrand came in and played great, so someone has the opportunity to do that as well. Steven Kaltner, our offense looked great in the second half and horrible in the first half. Why? Were there setting up things in the first half that made the difference in the second half? No, I think they were moving the ball fine. They just put the ball on the ground, or they were giving it away. They're moving the ball against Stanford, and Sam Hartman just like run out of bounds, and you can. Let me see if I can find the splits. It's the let me see. I don't want to go searching for it. It'll take too long. But it just they were moving the ball fine. I want to say they were, like, at one point they were averaging like 15 yards a play in the first half, something like that, like over 10 yards a play in the first half. They were fumbling. They fumbled the kickoff. You fumble there, and then Sam Hartman throws a really bad interception. That was what slowed them down. Every other time they were moving it just fine. It was the turnovers, which were so just like sloppy, like mindless turnovers. And that's frustrating. And I think that's what was really bugging Marcus Freeman. That was really bugging Marcus Freeman there. It's frustrating as a coach, right? You have a good team, you have a good plan, and you're giving the ball away. The A Stack says the three seniors, who is more likely to come back to Notre Dame? I would say probably Kaiser. I would say he's the most likely. And then Marist, and then Bertrand. I don't know where Marist is specifically. I've heard kind of multiple things. JP says, thanks for doing the next day recaps. Happy holidays to you and the IC staff. Thanks, JP. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it. We appreciate you being here. Justin Knox says, don't forget, we get Kahanu Kia back from his mission as well. Yeah, but he's like a Viper. Or he was a Viper. It's hard to get him up to speed that way. We don't know what's there. I mean, I imagine it would take him at least a year. If he came back and was a player, that I'd be very impressed with that. Rajon says Preston Zinner got some PT yesterday. I like him. He's a good player. I like Preston Zinner. But again, it's kind of the same as, like, I like Jaden Osbury and I like Drake Bowen. It's just there's the unknown. There's the unknown factor that kind of plays into it. And you don't want unknown. You want a known thing. You want a known product on your linebacking core. And if you're trying to make a highlight video, you want something known, right? You don't want to trust your highlight video to someone who doesn't know how to handle videos very well, who doesn't know how to put them out, doesn't have a good product. You want to go with a trusted source. And what is a better source than VSRmediacompany.com, which is founded by Notre Dame pregame host and Emmy Award-winning anchor Fahid Sadrazadeh. VSR Media provides professional and cinematic video and photo. Whether you're looking for a collegiate or pro-level highlight reel, have a personal story to tell, or are aiming to diversify and grow your business, VSR Media specializes in short and long-form video storytelling, social media management, and website design. VSR Media also captures professional headshots, senior, and sports photos. Contact them at vsrmediacompany.com. Mention Irish Sports Daily to receive 20% off your first project. Visit them online or give them a call at 574-800-9106. Oh, man. This is a good one. Good segue there. So, home run. Yeah. So look, I kind of wrapping things up here. Let me go back and make sure I didn't. Fred Laskowski. Thanks. So this is referring to Marcus Freeman kind of taking a step back and taking a look at things. I'm referring to his game day decision making and slow starts. So I do think Marcus Freeman needs to. He does need to consider, like, and I don't know how these coaches. I don't know how these coaches like can go about like analyzing their game day decisions. Because look, in terms of like going for it or kicking a field goal or when to use timeouts, because you can always have it in hindsight, right? You can always say, oh, like next time in this, you can always in hindsight say, oh, I should have done this or I should have done that. But like, how do you improve on a in the moment decision making, right? Like you do, because that's when it matters. After the fact, that everyone knows what to do after the fact. So do you bring on someone who is like you trust? It's like, hey, I need you to consult me, right? Consult me as someone. It's like, oh, in this situation you should go for it, or in this situation you should kick, or et cetera, et cetera. I think he could look at something like that. So that's a good point by you, Fred, about the decision making piece, for sure. And the slow starts, again, the slow starts on the road, especially, that's been a like kind of a bugaboo. A-Stack says, gotta run. Thanks, Greg. Enjoy the Ravens and Keller Hamilton today. Yes, I'm going to go to the Ravens game. They are playing at SoFi. We're fired up. I'm going to take my daughter and my son, and it's going to be real fun. Good to see him play. Justin Knox says, plus 27 on Bosco is going to look pretty good next fall. He's referring to Kingston Viliamo Asa. He looks like a very, very good player. And he's an early enrollee as well. He'll be on campus very soon. And so it's that'll be interesting, right? Can he make a mark? Oh, we'll see. Dana Curry asks, if Estime sits out the bowl game, who starts at running back? Please don't tell me Payne. I would think it would be Jadarian Price, because he is the closest to doing what Audric Estime does. I think it would be Jadarian Price, because Jeremiah Love has his little package, and I think that then they would just have the package there. They would probably put in more for Jeremiah Love, have Jadarian Price run a lot of the Audric Estime kind of runs and his normal play set, and then Jabron Payne would be the third down guy, right? You see a pretty good rotation there. Yeah. Price got a lot to work to do blocking. I mean, frankly, all of them, as good as those guys are in terms of like having a role and having like a package for themselves. I think the blocking aspect is where those guys are lacking. Especially, it's funny, like Payne is the third down guy. He's not a good pass blocker. He just isn't. It's how he's been, man. I don't know. It's tough. It's really hurt them. A lot this year. They need to get better as a room at that. Tom Whalen says, I think the thing I'm going to miss the most this offseason is Greg Slick's transitions into ad reads. Thank you for a great season of honest, thoughtful analysis. Thank you, Tom. Thank you for saying that. We're the season's not over. We still got some stuff coming up, and we got the bowl game. We got bowl game prep, and all shows. And look, the season, we don't stop shows because the season's over, right? We're still going. We're still going to have 2 shows a week throughout the year. We're always doing that. The only thing you won't have is the post games and the morning after recaps and stuff like that. But we're still going to have a ton of content for the ISD YouTube channel. So you're going to want to subscribe to that. Subscribe, like, hit the notification bell so you know whatever it is we're going live. We've got Dimes with Dara, our women's basketball podcast and men's basketball podcast. That's going to be creating new content as the football season winds down. And we've got a special guest coming up. Very special guest. We're very excited about that. Matt McCarthy says, I'm not saying KVA will start next year, but I'd be very surprised if he's not in the rotation. Terrific player. Good player. Good player. We'll see. I mean, the fact that he's in early and really helps. Hopefully comes in healthy. I think a lot of the time we've seen players come in and something happens to them. Like Ben Minnick is a good example of someone. It's like he was kind of looking good and then he got hurt and then it's like lost the year. And as Charles Jagusa is another example of that. So hopefully he can stay healthy. Patrick Carter says, riffing off last night's comment, Kyle Hamilton isn't a great athlete. He picked off Phil Jerkovic 18 times because he's a scrappy gym rat. A real lunch pail guy, plays the game the right way. Yeah, someone came on the post game last night and said Kyle Hamilton wasn't a good athlete because he ran a 4.59 40. Yeah, it's not great. Not great. Matt McCarthy says, would you like to see Payne utilized in the passing game more? Not necessarily. I mean, I think they use him a good amount. They've tried to use him a few different times. He's not bad. He's pretty good at it. I just think if you're going to be the third down back, you got to be really good in pass protection. You got to be on lock with that stuff. And he hasn't been. And so I think that's just a major hole in his game, right? So it's just something he's got to work on. It'll be interesting. Like, does he keep that next year? Because like you have why couldn't like Devin Ford? Like that's another one. Like Devin Ford is really good in pass protection. Like they really like him out of the backfield as well. So he's their best pass protection guy. Excuse me. He's their best pass protection guy, and they don't use him as much in it. So it's an interesting thing. Jamie and I pointed out yesterday. It was nice to see. It's nice to see Payne get in the end zone though, because he's had a tough few weeks, tough month, getting in the end zone. Marcus Freeman's such a funny guy. Like apparently, so you show him about, he was kind of getting on Audric after the Payne touchdown where it looked like he had fumbled. And apparently he was on Audric about like getting the room together, like get your room together. You guys aren't valuing the ball. Audric wasn't in the game. It's like, I'll value the ball. Put me in the game. And so it's just, he's a funny guy, man. Marcus Freeman gets mad about stuff. He's a funny character. Rajon asks, should Angeli anticipated Greathouse sitting on that crossing route? I think so. I mean, that's a classic like miscommunication between receiver and quarterback. Greathouse reads zone, so you sit down in the zone. You don't continue across and enter someone else's or enter into the zone of the defender. He sees him crossing. Angeli anticipates he's going to continue. Greathouse stops, throws the interception. It looks like to me like they're in zone, so he should settle down. And Notre Dame has been settling down on that route all year. They have been. So it's just kind of a misread. I think Angeli was a little bit flustered by the pressure. And, it's just classic miscommunication type thing. Patrick Carter asks, not sure if you addressed this, but how surprising was it that the Aggie backlash caused Mark Stoops to back off and stay at UK? It's funny. Like, I feel like somewhat Parker Flammang at Stats of War on Twitter, he floated like, was this someone else leaking where things were in the negotiations to kind of trigger the backlash, because if it's done, it's done, right? Like you know something is going to be a big deal or you don't. Like I think it was pretty clear. Like if it is Mark Stoops, they're not going to the fans aren't going to be like super fired up about it. You're talking about Ryan Day, you're talking about Mike Norvell, you're talking about Mike Elko, like guys at the top of the sport. And then you go to Mark Stoops, who's a good coach, but it's like that's obviously not going to get the fan base in a frenzy, you know. So he posited, is this someone else triggering the backlash before it was like done? It's possible. I don't think it would have mattered for Stoops, but I think it would have mattered for people in the administration, in kind of getting that sorted. But yeah, that was a funny thing, man. That was interesting. It was all there, and then it was gone in like I don't know, an hour. It was going to happen, and then it was an hour. Let's see. David Carpenter says he was working through his leaders, captains when he spoke to Estime. I like seeing that. Head coach can't do everything. Yeah, I mean, I don't. It was just funny. Like it's fine. He can do that. And it was a key point in the game. And I think he was frustrated. Like, look, he had thought at the time that Jabron Payne had fumbled, and he was mad. Like, obviously, he was upset. Like, you don't need to put the ball out in that situation, even though he made, like, it's one of those things. Like, look, if you're going to put it out there, you better score, because if you don't, you fumble, then you're in huge trouble. So if you put it out there, you score, everything's fine. But if you don't, you're in big trouble. And it worked out for him. But I think, look, he'd already seen the fumble by Hartman. He'd seen the fumble by Price. He'd seen the interception by Hartman. I mean, he's got to be thinking, like, we should be up 35 to whatever at this point, right? And we're putting the ball on the ground, and we're being lazy with the ball, and we're being bad with the ball. And he's mad, right? So I get it. It was just funny that he was yelling at Estime. He wasn't in the game. So it's like Estime probably felt like, if you put me in, I'll score, and I won't do that. Yeah. Matt McCarthy says we saw this Tennessee fan base turn into a mob when Fulmer tried to hire Schiano. They did. And maybe he should have, right? Maybe he should have. Although I guess he's who they have now. He's done a good job, right? I think they're happy with there. I think they're good. But it would have been interesting with Schiano. So yeah, I think I'll end it there. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Happy birthday to Rajon one more time. A lot of good questions on the show today. If this is your first time catching me, please hit the like button. Please hit subscribe. Please hit the notification bell so you know whenever it is we are going live. Links to the podcast are in the description below. Notre Dame wins 56-23, finishes 9-3 on the season. Thank you, everyone. Have a great Sunday. And Jamie and I will be back on Tuesday with our regular show. And enjoy Sunday Night Football. Kyle Hamilton and the Ravens take on the LA Chargers. Have a good rest of the day, everyone. Talk soon. Keep hitting and hustling.